Hi Nasli, how are you? We are continuing the series on enhancing the human being with whatever we know. We talked about sleep as a real enhancer of our energy, and also meditation, and also we talked optimal exercise yesterday. And today I'm going to do something very much for me, and I always talk about that. Is like, how can you be present all the time? Be present, okay? Separate from sitting down for a meditative practice, or cultivating that state of mind where you are really in a state where the thoughts don't bother you. That's different compared to how can you be here and now, whatever you do. And that is something very blissful if you could practice that. Um, so if you cannot be in the present, which is our natural state, but we forgot about that long time ago, all of us. But if you really focus on why I'm not being present, I think we'll come the other way, and then we can benefit from that kind of thing very much. That means we just identify why we are away from the present, in the past or in the future. you know Nothing can be done just like that, but over the period of some time, and the opportunities that you have or the inclinations that you have determine a lot of the success in the practice. But even if you are not really all the time present, which is, we call it a movement to moment awareness. That is the technical term, probably. But in actual life, just not being in the head, but more of with the what's going on in front of us. So that means whatever we are doing, we're paying attention to that. If we can start with that, that will be very much energy saver, and also quality improver, and boosting the human being in terms of productivity, in terms of really involved in the work in a flow state and all that. It's not that big deal to achieve that. Only have to keep it in mind and start in the morning properly, not being immersed in thought, or somebody bring in something, immediately go into the thought world where you live in your head rather than in what is happening around you. Okay, that kind of thing. Actually, that is the simple truth. We kind of try to live in the, especially last century or so, our human beings have become like that. Okay, they are living in their head and thinking about things that happen, or thinking about things that may happen in the future. But at this time, they are not in the present, what is happening. So to be with whatever happening here and now requires some awareness, some attention of what we are doing with our mind. Okay, so this is something important for the entrepreneurs, because this is a series where I started for the energy for the entrepreneurs, and because we're doing multitasking, we're doing so many things that are not with our line, and we respond so many things, right? But that may not be healthy for us. So think about that. That is what I wanted to present. As more of my friends come, uh, I will cultivate more of the answers and all that. If Nestle, you want to have a question or something, you can put it in chat, or you can come up. Um, Alka is here too. Anybody wants to pursue this topic of how to be in the present, or how to help ourselves not to be gone in the thought in our head, either to the past or the future, especially when things are not going well. people tend to worry a lot, and then they kind of really waste a lot of energy. They can't help it, they think, but it is not so. What it is if you are worrying, it's like staying in a easy chair that is rocking chair, and then you are rocking, but it's not going anywhere. Like that, you will be having this what's called circular thinking. The same thoughts come, they feed on itself, and then they go on to do more of it. So that circular thinking is what we call worry. Actually, that is the mechanism by which thoughts arise, and they get strength by us giving attention to it, and then they slip into subconscious and stay there and come back, and they get fortified. We can reverse that mechanism, and where we can be intentional of what we want to think about. Conscious thought. That's the word, conscious thought. So you're going to really pay attention to what is in front of you, even as a project, something that you are doing in the office or anywhere. As an entrepreneur, you don't want to bring all your brainstorm sessions into the present moment, what's happening. Just pay attention to what is in front of you. That is a very good process to adopt, I think. Now, suppose you are threatened, you are having some threat of punishment or something, then you're going to pay attention, and that's not good for your health, because you're going to be secreting a lot of stress hormones, right? So if you want to really be in the flow, just pay attention to the little things, the small things, the series of steps that you are doing to accomplish a task. Pay attention to that small task one at a time, and then you're in the present. You see? So it's a habit of thinking of our own things, or allowing our brain to wander away from what we have at hand. That is the biggest thing, I think, that makes us away from the present moment. But if you take any tradition of system of concentration, meditation, attention, it's always like bring all the thoughts together to one thought, and stay with that one thought and go beyond it. And when you are really silent in your mind, then you will really see who you really are. That is the biggest philosophy. We don't have to go all the way there. All we have to do is, are we here and now with what we are doing? And the other thing is, are we really enjoying whatever we are doing? Or are we allowing our resentments, our fears, our anxieties overwhelm us? That kind of thing, this is not like a simple thing. This is a serious thing, because a lot of anxiety in America that we find is because of people think that they are only thoughts and nothing else. But you are having the thoughts. Thoughts are not having you. That simple truth, once realized, then you can watch the thoughts, slow them down, and also really see where our attention. That's what I do with my patients. One patient at a time, one chart at a time. Even the EMR, I have access to do 20 charts at a time. I only open one chart at a time. That becomes very simple. Even if it takes only few minutes, once I signed in, I can go any number of, but I don't want to make a mistake of going one chart to other chart. It happens quite often. So I just open only one chart at a time, and then as much as possible, if nobody else is disturbing me, I will stay on that course, But sometimes people come and interfere, say so many things, then we have to open that chart and then look at it. But then I close it right away, so that I can come back to what is at hand with me. That kind of minor disciplinary action on my part helped me to be clear about what I'm doing at office, So it kind of runs very simply, because by being simple in my present moment of what I'm paying attention to, I'm able to do a lot of stuff in a very short time. And then I don't have to do redundant things. I don't have to do mistakes and come back and all that. You see, so that helps a lot. They all think, "Oh, I'm really seriously organized person." Yeah, I'm only organized only one thing, with my present moment. So this is a big deal with the philosophers like Krishnamurti, or any modern management people, anybody you take it, they talk about. I tend to go with the spiritually oriented people who are not oriented towards the profits or ego or anything like that. So they really want to help the human beings for the sake of helping. So Krishnamurti said, only reality is what is. So he said, what is or the suchness of thing is, that is sacred. Everything else is like a blown up in our mind, and then we may have to use it for practical purposes. But when you're doing something, or when you're having a conversation with your loved ones, or when you're paying attention to your pets or plants, any of the life enhancing things that we do for the quality, for me, what kind of quality time I spend with my family is important, right? So sometimes my kids, may we go in the car to Chicago, to 2.5 hours of drive. All the drive, because there are four drivers in the car, we take turns. But then, whoever is not driving, we will talk uh, very openly, very nicely. So. It's not like looking at everybody look at their phones and all, but what we want to talk about, then you have a moment of break when everybody can do their own thing. But otherwise, respect the presence that is there with each other, and also realize that those times will not come back. That kind of things happens in my mind. So that's why, wherever I go, wherever I spend, I'm completely fully with it. Otherwise, I choose not to go if I cannot go because of so what. But then just simple check: am I really being with this friend? Am I listening to him? Am I finding out, are we exchanging something meaningful? Are we really not transactional, but more like a transformational in our relationship? That kind of awareness really helps with the, especially relationships, right? I think I see this increased divorce rate with the young people, and that pains me a lot because they enter into relationships and then they break them very easily. There's a lot of heart attack. Heartache is there. So that is also something I'm very saddened to see. So when we ask them, how much time you guys spend in this fast-paced technology world, how much time you really actually spend with the live things, not necessarily humans only, which is important, but also with your plants in the apartment or the house, with your pets in the house, with the trees and every life around you, all those things. Do you pay attention? Do you really nurture in a way? All that comes back to you as a nurturance too. So that's why, uh, looking at the plants, for example, I told yesterday this same thing. When I go out, when I see all these trees budding up with green leaves that are beautiful greenery, I watch them as though I'm watching somebody. I watched my son grow up like that, right? So I watch them like that each season. It's a wonderful transformation of color and spectacle. And then later on in the winter, all the ice, all the snow that is forming the trees, that gives you a very beautiful atmosphere. Of course, when you are in there, you're cold and you have to wear a lot of clothes. That's fine. But then when you are inside, and then when you open the window in the morning, it doesn't have to be a long time, just a few minutes. I can enjoy the nature that's presenting its different colors. I remember a Hindi song that I used to enjoy. Mukesh was my favorite singer. He said, "Ye kaun chitrakar hai." He was wondering, who is this painter that painted this nature so beautifully? You know, so that was the sensibilities that were there at the time. But anyway, nature is going to be there. Nature is going to present its own shape, and it could be very bad sometimes. It affects. It's very angry, and then gives us a lot of cyclones and all that. But I think some of it we made it ourselves. Okay. So be in the present. If you have any questions, come up and ask me, and we can talk more about it. Or tell me about your practice of being in the present. What works for you? When did you try? And what are the encounters that say, I have you ever thought about this? Because for me, past is gone, future is not yet here. But what is here in this moment is life. So once we understand, once we realize that, then you are always, talking about that, right? And then you are paying attention to what is in front of you, your relationships, your work, your whatever you're doing, whatever missions you are doing, whatever things you want to really contribute. Your leisure time also can be very taxing if you are not present at the vacation time. So that's why I tell my family, let's have vacation like a short period, like a 2 or 3 days. We take off. Even when my practice were very very busy, and I was in 40s and 50s, it was so busy. I could not even take rest for a few minutes. But then Friday comes, we have another physician like me in the town who has his own practice. So we covered each other. So I used to take off a weekend, he used to take off a weekend like that. But when you go Friday and then Saturday, Sunday, fully present with the family and all that, what helped me was I had this practice of vacating the mind. That I do every day. All whatever I did, whatever I accumulated in the morning till evening, I just vacate them. That means sitting in a reflective mode and looking at the trivialities and dumping them. And then if you have something important to do, just to note it down or put it in the device. And now right now it's Notion. That's what I'm using. I just put everything in there, usually very few of them. And then that may be related to some patient or related to some relative or friend or family, something like that. And then I will just forget about it for the night. There is a lot of meaning for that, because the more you are in the present before you go to sleep, you are intentional about that, then the more replenishment of energy that happens between the body and mind. Try it and look at it, see it. You don't lose anything, because you don't gain anything by just worrying about it, right? On the other hand, if you worry and if you do that, you may have depletion of your energy, right? That we don't want. So in the morning when you get up, because I was tossing and turning with worry all night, it doesn't do any good for you, but at the same time, it can deplete energy. So that's why being in the present, intentional about going to sleep with a vacated mind is very, very important. I hope I make sense to you guys. So I don't see any reaction. So I assume that is okay. You can understand what I'm talking about. So I'm coming back once again. I just taking a sip of water. I have to go and get this one. Um, so that is what we are talking about. How can we enhance humaneness of ours or energies of ours in this demanding time for the entrepreneurs? How can we really deal with this information overload, brain fog, overwhelm, stress, and burnout? So there's small changes that you can make in the sleeping patterns, in meditation, in optimizing your physical exercise, and also living in the present. All these things really add up. On the other hand, if you practice like a frenetic activity, no real rest, and just work, work, work all the time, people are paying price because they are burning out or stressed out. Okay, that's why I started this series, because I see patients like that or colleagues like that all the time, and because they don't have the time to really Yeah, I think Alka wants to come up. Let me invite her. So a lot of times what is happening is, hi Alka, how are you? I can't hear your voice a little bit low. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This burnout is like very growing, you know. See, one of the things I discovered about the burnout was a lot of my colleagues are interested in that, but they don't think they are burning out. Okay, but they allow it to grow slowly, and they don't change the habit that well, and they may have to come with them, and then they think just because they studied medical field and they understand it, they will be able to handle that, you know, which is not really happening, because inner science is completely different from the outer sciences. You got to spend time with yourself to really understand. Do you work with people with burnout, Alka?
No, I burn out. I'm just managing nursing home, but a nursing home since we're in London.
Yeah,
And there's no working hours. You can work all times. But during COVID,
yeah,
I realised how to manage my own burnout. But
yeah, exactly.
everybody put some earphones on and go for a long walk
Yeah,
with the dog.
yeah,
But you can manage to do that. So
yeah,
yeah, coping mechanisms
yeah.
come slowly but surely, but still
That's true.
difficult when you're working.
That's true. Because in COVID times, I spent a lot of time on people who were suddenly burdened with so much extra work, you know, and then they were not given the resources also. And also, there was so much uncertainty about which way it is going to go. Initially, there were so many deaths of the patients and the healthcare workers and all that. But then later on, kind of with some improvement in the therapeutics, more people are able to handle it. But even now, I go and visit this room where long COVID patients are really listened, and then we try to help them. I have been going there ever since the long COVID thing has formulated, right? Nursing home workers are really stressed out with them because they were kind of locked in. They could not go home and they have to take care of the patients, and then they themselves were burned out, you know. So I was very familiar with that, you know. Luckily, even though I was working with these people, I never had COVID, you know. I attribute that to my yoga practice, my breathing, and all. So basically, I incorporated this self care into my routine rather easily, because that's something I have been doing for years. So it was not a big deal for me, you know. That's one of the things why I embarked on this wellness thing, because what I saw in my profession with my colleagues and all that, they were not taking care of themselves because they thought they are eating, they are kind of trying to sleep as they can and all that, but they don't have a regular routine that they could do, you know. But you have to adjust to it. I didn't have regular routines either, but I kind of incorporated exercise during the hospital hours, and then I kind of incorporated medication in a way, and then deep breathing in a way, and also the sleep routine I developed, and I learned. I had to learn what are the deeper understanding about sleep anciently, and then what is the modern understanding. When you look at it, then the more attentive you are. Again, coming to the present moment, the more attentive I was, really not accumulating all these remnants of the thought or anything like that, the deeper I was able to sleep. So that exercise that I developed into kind of a course, like, you know, what do you do before sleep, what do you do just before sleep, and what do you do about the ambience of the sleep, and what do you do after you get up. You know, all those things played into how well we conserve energy during the sleep and after sleep, before sleep, you know. One of the things I noticed was we used to get frustrated because we worked all day and then more patients are coming all the time. Then I thought this is going to happen whether I, get frustrated or not. Then that stopped. That's frustration, and it's like a matter of fact. It is going to happen. I'm here as a doctor. That means they are going to ask me to serve them for this, and I signed for it. So it might as well be professional and accept it. Once that has come into my mind, I stopped feeling frustrated about it. It's like a yeah, we're here today. And also this service element has come, which has also helped me a lot to conserve my own energy. So deep sleep has become a deeper and deeper as I practice these other things than sleeping there. So how I conduct my attention span during the day really helps a lot. And then also how I vacate the mind, which I described to you earlier. At the end of the day, I vacate my mind, reflect, and then take it out, and don't let the junk be there. Toss it out. That kind of. What do you think about that, Alka? Vacating the mind.
I think it's a good idea, but definitely your mind still the works on subconscious level.
Yeah.
So to do present, the only way I close off in one minute is put my earphones on,
Mm.
go for a walk, and put the music on all some learning, listen to Sadhguru, listen to something else which will divert your thoughts. But I don't think you can just vacate your mind. I think you can't push it back.
Yeah. No, you mentioned about subconscious. That is true. What happens is if you are allowing the thinking to happen unconsciously, that means you are not consciously thinking and finishing it, it is allowed to go into subconscious. This is described in yoga science also. They called it as samskaras. They go there and then they kind of fortify after repeated thinking, and that's why they appear when you are not really wanting that. They come up, right? So this is also neuroplasticity nowadays. They are talking about that is how we can be intentional, conscious about our thinking and make it positive more, and then that way it will feed us and then it can be very positive. On the other hand, if you allow the negative to be more negative, then you go to the other side too. So there is in yoga practice, for example, I want my students to be aware rather than just being in compulsive thought. So if you don't do anything, actually samskaras will form and then they will come up. But there is a way to do that, and then actually you enjoy things much better because you are not negative, but you are trying to be positive everywhere. So thought construction, thought, going into uh, our subconscious and coming back, all those happen if you are basically unconscious about yourself, about what's happening within yourself. So you got to be attentive all the time, and that's where the moment to moment awareness comes. There are things that we can do. Actually, what happens is there is a blissness comes over you when you are silent in the regular thought. You don't allow the thoughts go wherever they want to, and you are way you are thinking, and then you also enjoy some quiet time, reflective time, and doing something. We just that's what happened to modern people. We just leave the thought alone and expect everything to happen. Then it becomes compulsive, unconscious, and takes its own route. And there is this path of neuronal paths that form, like older people, they can't get rid of the old memories, but they can recall anything in the recent past. That's the problem. And then people who are sharp at the young age, and later on they develop these mental habits of retaining these things, and then they become a problem of coming back. So there are ways to do. That's why I'm saying. Ivy, how are you? You want to come up? You come up and ask me some questions that I can talk more about this. Somebody who told me that she gets silent, she experiences that silence in her mind. So she knows what I'm talking about. But yoga practice itself is supposed to be for the mind. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means you stop that um, continuous chatter, and then stilled thought, silent thought, that not thought, silence of the thoughts. That really helps people to be conserving so much energy, and also feel really exhilarated because you are not burdened by so many thoughts. That's one thing. This exposure of so many variety of stimuli in the form of news, 24-hour news, and also in the hand now, everybody can have the world in their hand now, right? Children also. Children have become so neurotic. And then they work with that, they do it, but then if something small thing happens, they flare, they kind of burst out. So a lot of negative things that we're seeing, suicidal tendencies are growing very much. So understanding thought, when it is efficient, when it is not, when it is can be turned against us, all those things I think we should understand. And then I see variety of people at various levels of thought control, and so from no don't have any thought control to impulse control or anger and all that, to the people who wanted to understand but they found this very difficult, very complicated, right? So that's why I kind of talk to them at their own time, and usually uh, they kind of come with the various things. But then one thing I always invite them to do is self-reflection. So this is not like a out there like everything else scientific fact. This is within you as a subject, and that is where if you can always cut off these various stimuli of thought coming at us from different sources in the modern society. I'm an informatician, so I deal with the data. I deal with what the data can do to us. Uh, that safeguards are not there. The family or society, they have to look at this, before it becomes a real big problem. One of the things about the artificial intelligence is that is doing a lot of mundane and dreary things. So we have more time to be with ourselves, to reflect on what we are thinking or what is coming at us, and really practice breathing deeply, or just finding that silence between the words and staying there, and just enjoying the silence with the nature. All those things, I think you can easily do that. Dr. K is here. You can come up and we can talk. He has a formula as usually. He tells me all those formulas. Anything else anybody wants to ask me about or tell me about? He sent you. Yeah, there you are. Hi, Dr.
Dr. Rowe, peace and love to all of you. Alka, dear Femi Anderson. How are you today? Thank you for the share.
Yeah.
I have one question. I was doing an experiment, as usual, just to learn about my existence because it fascinates me. I exist, but I couldn't remember the moment where I don't exist. Now, if I exist, why I don't remember all existence? Because I can't remember when I don't exist. It makes me laugh a lot.
What is that you don't remember existence? Is it because of the body mind form, or
yes. On this life, we were babies and grow up, and so on.
Yeah.
So we did exist in the internal existence. But when we came to this physical on this planet, all the past existence, I can't remember anything.
Yeah, that is for your own protection. You see, yeah, nature put it that way so that you don't carry on whatever you had. But then there is a big belief in India's systems of thought that there is a reincarnation, and what we are as the energy. They call it soul, but you can take it like a life energy, right? That comes in and gives us life, animates our body and mind, and then once that is gone, we are done. There's so much work done on that in yoga, Ayurveda, other places too. So it's Anderson is trying to come up, but I invited him. I don't know, I'm not able to pull him up. Anderson, I was trying.
I was writing I have my book with me where I write a lot of things that come to my understanding.
Yeah.
So let's say the whole universe, the whole existence is God, right? The whole creation is God. So this means everything. So all is basically God. Then all is made up of small parts, right? Me, you, plants, everything, the earth, the universe, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
So what I call is all is one. Now, if you add all the individuals or the unity of expression, combine all of them, then they will give you, let's say, the big all that all needed is G, capital G for that. Then, within that, if a person experience that realm of where we're supposed to exist as love, where you are transcend beyond the physical and become omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, omniefficient. It is love divided by the total God, which is capital G, I call it. Now, this ratio gives me a glimpse of God, I call it GG, a glimpse of God, because my experience, Dr. Ronald experience is a subcomponent of the big G. Other subs give you the big G. Now, the glimpse of God, I asked this question to a woman who had, let's say, gave birth. I will ask like a lot of people who give birth. Then I ask them, go to the moment where they give birth, new life, new baby born. Then I ask all of them, what do you see when the baby is delivered? And look at me, what did you experience? They said, I feel I'm looking at myself.
Yeah.
Now I told them, that is called a glimpse of God.
Yeah.
Gigi, a glimpse of God is full expression of love as oneness.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. You see, the sense of separation is our biggest illusion. See, once you have rooted in that sense of separation, like you are separate from other people, everybody else, you are not in that godly energy, but you are in that energy identified with your body and mind, and you think the passing parts of body and mind as you, whereas the still that is always there is like we can call it God or consciousness or life form, force, energy, any of that. So modern people talk about mind, matter, and not modern people. Modern people talk about only matter and energy as us. And the mind, we have something our own, and it's not part of that. But ancients, they knew that the mind, matter, and energy are also all separate from our real self, which flows through us. So in that energy level, we are all one. In that conscious level, we are all one. But we have this separative thought, which makes us feel like we are separate from everybody. But once you realize that your body and mind are moving parts, that they come and go, But whereas that animating consciousness, energy, and whatever you feel, that is really not going to die or not going to get born. Once you understand that, then you feel that there is no separation between you and me and anybody else. So there are no others, only one. That oneness, once you feel it and then you live it, then you can handle your mind and body much better. Otherwise, you are always acting one against everybody else, you against other people and all that. So that's what's happening.
Yeah, and this was exact teaching of in Christianity, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah,
This is what he teaches.
exactly,
Love your heart, your soul, yourself, and the neighbor next to you.
exactly.
This is like the principle of oneness.
Yeah, not only Christianity, but if you go to Muslim, Jewish, and Hindu, anybody, you go to the deep. That's why I find these artificial divisions are unnecessary and harmful. They take us away from that oneness. They make us feel separative and identify, and then we kill each other for that. That's why I don't want to identify with anything, but I want to study everything and I want to understand and get the wisdom from everybody. You know, um, like for example, Sermon on the Mountain. If you listen to it, it's like a lot of it is there in Bhagavad Gita also. You know, so once you read that, you see what they said: "I am that I am." Right? Whereas Hindus said, "I am that." There is not really difference.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
when you say, I am, you are talking to that, which is eternal being, right?
yeah, eternal. That is it. That is it. That never goes anywhere. It is eternal. Eternal means
That's why Christ says,
yeah,
see the Father through I am. When he said I am, it's not for him, it's through the I am with everyone.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That's very
That makes sense.
yeah, very evident to me from the beginning. So if you go back to any particular religion, you really go into the depth of their understanding and the wisdom. It seems same to me, the same thing.
Wow, yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ must be the most ascended, transcendent consciousness. I think when I look what he did, it's like immense.
Yeah,
Everything.
definitely. You know, they made a movie on Jesus Christ, Dr. K, in India when I was a teenager. That name, yeah, the name of the movie is called Karunamaya. Karunamaya means the one who is personification of kindness. Okay,
How
Karuna.
to spell it? I have to watch the movie. How to spell the
Yeah,
movie?
it's called Karunamayudu, the one who has with all the kindness, right? So that movie was made in color with all technical excellence and all that. It was a huge hit with everybody, you know. And then we were told not like a Christians are separate and all that. There was never like that, you know. So we didn't have the difference. We went and saw the movie. One line I was very much taken by when I saw the movie was, you know, he says, somebody asked me, what is your religion and all that, right? Then he says,
Yeah.
to love as a human is my religion.
Yeah.
See, it is not like you got to be some ism. He never said that. Just because I love as a human being, and that is my religion, you know. And this personification of that. You see, another thing I remember very well is when they crucifying him, he said, "Forgive them, my Lord, for they know not what they are doing."
Exactly. Even unaware.
Yeah.
Unconscious.
Yeah. Hi, Sanya. How are you?
And I have one question because I was going to the spiritual understanding, and I feel like they are like a quantum physics on air of universe or the spiritual master. For example, Babaji, I'm just learning now, and I was impressed how the most ascended master he teach everyone.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Even for Jesus, why doesn't he the one who trained him?
Yeah.
In India.
Well, there was a debate about that. He spent his years in India, but that's immaterial because for me, for ancients or moderns or anybody, this is all our human experience, you know. So what you have to do is just take those things and then examine them and understand what they're talking about, look at their lives and everything, then if you incorporate at least a piece of that wisdom, I think you will be very living in a completely different kind of life where you are not really taken by the extreme suffering, but also you will end up being blissful and joyful. So for me, that's why I put the ancient wisdom very high respect, because when they talked about these universal truths, existential issues, they never identified their particular belonging to certain thing. Later on, these isms have come. The Hinduism, Buddhism, even Buddha, he never created a ism. He would die probably. He will see all the rituals everybody is doing, all the things they are identifying. He said, the Buddhahood is within everybody. You can reach it by transcending your own mind. So that's a wonderful thing, actually. Sanya, you were going to say something?
No, I just want to say hi. I'm just listening in.
Okay. We were talking about being in the present. I talked a lot about what are the things that we do that don't allow us to be in the present moment. If you can look at that and then be aware of at least that, then you will be able to come back to the present moment more. Because otherwise, everything becomes like a theory or something that we want to think about, and then we end up being in the thought world, basically in our head rather than in the present, what is around us. So this present moment is a only life, actually, we know. So we have to live as much as possible in it truly. Then we are really not accumulating all these unnecessary thoughts, worries, anxieties, and all. I remember Eckhart Tolle, one time he described his state of mind when he was going for a talk. What he said was, well, they make an arrangement, they say this is an event and all that. For me, it's just another communication with a few people. So there were, he never thinks about how many people are coming, what they call, nothing. He stays in the present moment, right? And then when he goes to the talk, when he opens it, he allows his inner being come through him, and then he will be having the same topics, the same thing he will talk about, but then with a different experiences on that. And also, he doesn't get offended, he doesn't get anything, because he doesn't have that egoic personality. It's transcended already. So there's nobody to defend, but there's only one person to love, give, and then really enjoy. So his whole wait for the talk, as he is waiting and all that, he lives in the silent moment. So that actually that helps a lot, because if something is very bad going on, and then instead of just worrying about it without doing anything, you kind of exhaust yourself. But if you cultivate like let me watch what are the thoughts come, let me go, and then let me just stay with the moment and see what can I do. And if I can do, that's fine. If I cannot do, I just have to resign and then be in the moment. Even that much also very good. But actually, once you are the spiritual practices anywhere, any culture, you take it, what happens is that your thoughts become kind of silent. So there is a scale to see whether you are, if you want to, if you don't have to, but if you want to understand, am I really doing anything with this spiritual, whatever I chose, or am I really regressing or going, maybe I'm kind of getting nuts, I'm just feeling like that. So two things they pointed out. I think Ramana Maharshi, he said this. He said, the less extraneous thoughts you are having that are really unnecessary, then you can identify that you are really progressing. The other thing is how much you can focus on one thought and stay on that one thought. So these two things, if you can see in yourself that you are not having this multiple thought, the scattered thoughts and all the unnecessary thought going on uncompulsively and unconsciously, then you are not, you may read so much, you may talk so much, but that is something, a measure that you can see yourself. This is where the moment to moment awareness I'm talking about is very enjoyable, you know. And then if you really want to have a focused thinking, if you really want to understand any problem in your life, you want to, instead of getting psychology or fear and anxiety working on you, if you really can be still with one thought and then go beyond it, those two capacities are said to be your measures of spiritual progress. Make sense, Anya?
Yeah, I love that. Summary, it's great. I of course, in our world, being in the present, like sometimes, we have to go through that, different areas of hardship to be able to come to the present sometimes, right?
Yeah.
After that?
Yeah.
That,
You can use.
that,
Yeah, it depends on how you use the hardship. See, you can use the hardship with a simple attitude of this is a um, a period that gives me an opportunity to see how I'm responding and how I am, and then you don't have to blame yourself, but you can learn a lot from that. One of the things, Arthur Ashe, I always quote him. He's a black gentleman who won the Wimbledon championship. It was in the 80s, I think. He had a lot of following. He was a very nice gentleman, very humble, very beautiful person. That's why he had gained a lot of fans, right? He was an underdog, and then I think Jimmy Combs, he beat him, and then he became the champion. I used to watch tennis quite a lot at the time. That's why I came to know him. Then, a few years later, after he became a champion and he retired, then what happened was he was diagnosed HIV because blood transfusion. He got it from the blood transfusion. At the time, the science was just developing. It's not like a real solutions were there. We couldn't screen blood that well in the beginning, right? Or later on, we developed methods. Unfortunately, such a gentle, nice soul had that. So all the reporters went to him, and then he gave a news conference, right? And in the news conference, they said they were very unhappy. Genuinely, they were really, some of them crying and all that. Then he said, "Look, 50,000 people competed for the tennis championship. Only 25 people came up, and then after 8 people came up, of them 4 people came up to the semifinals, and then only one person won, and it happened to be me." So when so much of uh, good fortune came my way, I didn't complain about it. Why should I complain about the misfortune that I have? That is part of life. And that is the responding to uh, hardships in a positive, in a way that you are not allowing your conscious thought take you down the drain. That is human quality that everybody has. The spirituality gives you that insight into your inner self, not this outward, whatever technological progress we have, whatever comforts we have. They don't do that. So you cannot just talk about it, you cannot just say things about it or quote people. You got to take a journey within yourself, by yourself, but not by your intellect and your thought or your senses, but by awareness of what you are feeling, what you are reacting, what you are really beyond that thought and feeling and all that. And once you establish in that, then it's a different life completely. You live moment to moment in joy, in blissfulness, because not that bad things don't happen, but you have transcended the bad things. This is exactly what Buddha said. Somebody said to him, "Hey, you started out saying that I'm going to find answer to all these problems of old age, disease, and death, and that's why you came out of the palace. But now you are getting old. You have the disease. I think he also had problem. Madhumeha they used to call, that is the diabetes probably, and then he is dying too. Then he said, I never said we're going to remove all these conditions. But what I learned was how I react to these conditions which will happen. And then that is what I was telling you about autoimmune disorder. By your mental makeup, by your neurochemical makeup, you can make a disease much worse, or you can arrest the progress of the disease somewhat. You can slow it down, or you can completely cure it by not allowing it to be having the onslaught of your feelings associated stress hormones and all that. So that's why people said laughter is the best medicine, taking it easy, and the studies on the centurions that they take it as a matter of fact. There was a study done on what is this Okinawa in Japan. They did a study on people who lived past 100 years and they're still living, and they are very pretty healthy. Then they went and studied them and asked them some questions. One of the questions they said was, they don't take anything serious. They let it go. They're okay, happy-go-lucky people, just to take it easy and don't allow it. So even if you are not so hilarious or really, but look at the Arthur Ashe. He was not known to be a humorist or anything, but he was a humanist, not a humorist, humanist. And then he is really have this attitude of really being very dignified and mature when he had this misfortune of HIV. At that time, that was uncurable. People were dying very quickly. They don't even have the AZT, which medications came later on. Now we can control the virus spread much easier. But at the time, we didn't have it. It is like a death sentence. If somebody has HIV, most of the people died very soon. Somebody people died in 3 months. It was so bad. I was in the emergency room. I remember very well. I was 3 to 11 shift, I think. Around 6 o'clock, I think one gentleman, black gentleman, came walking into the emergency room. But then he is full of all these PCP pneumonia, we call it. And the pneumonia was so bad. By 9:30, he died. So all the measures that we did and all that, we kind of did the EPG, and that it indicated that he needs intubation. So we had to put him on the mechanical ventilation. But 9:30 he died. He's full of pneumonia. So it was that bad at that time. Well, report, listen, see, now COVID, a lot of patients reacted very negatively just hearing about it, because they were primed up, especially the first wave in India. They come to know about it. But then the second wave is hitting, a lot of people got sicker because they were much more anxious because of the thought of it, no treatment and all that. This was a real challenge to be a doctor at the time. But all this service orientation, and then not subjecting yourself to the regular fears and anxieties, that helped a lot. So, Sanya, tell me, what do you do to be in the present? Is it habitual, or is it something that you have to try and be? How do you do?
Dr. I have one question.
Yeah.
Is there physical master from history that reached nirvana from the physical state.
Oh yeah.
Without dying on this.
No, nirvana doesn't mean not dying. Okay? Nirvana is more like a spiritual state. Any number of people can have self-realization. So they call nirvana in Buddhism. There's kaivalya in so there are like a states of consciousness that people can reach. There are ways to do that, but it is all a subjective science. So it's not something that you say you do this and go, but you got to take a journey within yourself, and then first shut off that chattering mind. That is our problem, right? Chattering mind calming down and then making it still. Then in that silence, you can. I was reading this introduction to Bhagavad Gita by Eknath Ishwaran. In that he was talking about the Brahman, how they found that. The first requirement was to really calm the superficial mind completely. That is there. That is something we call self-realization. Actually, the purpose of yoga is to self-realize through meditation. The meditation is where you kind of calm the mind and go into samadhi. And then again, samadhi, various varieties are there. But essentially, there were any number of people who were self-realized. And also, it is a value in ancient times. Okay? The purpose of human birth was to turn inward and realize who we really are. Not this continuously chattering, going all around and data regurgitating. That's not the silent mind. That's why it's not something that we can say that you are chattering. They have to feel themselves, and it's an inner journey. Eventually, everybody makes it after several lives, they said. But then everybody has their journey to do it. But the process is there, and the people who have gone into that was there. That was validated from people like Ramana Maharshi. Some of the people, 3 or 4 people, I think he validated that they are talking from the self. Even Mahatma Gandhi's writings, when he read, he said this is not like a cultivated mind or erudite mind or scholarly mind that's writing it. He said this is the self with a big S. That means the inner being, inner source of life, our real nature. That is talking about. That is why he doesn't have any craving for external things like money or status and all of that. So that is there also. For example, if you go to Ramana Maharshi and you ask a question, the first thing you'll ask is, who is that asking question? Meaning, is your mental makeup or your scholarly thing or your whatever personality all that together as mind, is that asking, or that is silent so that you can see and feel who you are behind that, is that asking. So what are you? Are you this bundle of scholarships or whatever erudition we have, whatever knowledge we have by the external things, or you have a silent self that is always there, is that asking. So lots of times that is a problem. One guy, one youngster went to him and he wanted to find out how to reach this destination of self-realization and all that. And he took a lot of trouble to go to him, I believe. And Ramana turns to him and says, go back where you came from. Meaning, you have come from the spiritual heart, which is silent, and then you kind of projected the mind from it, and then you identified with the mind, and you're asking me now, but you should go back to your spiritual self. But he didn't explain all that to him, and he said that and that. But because the other people heard this so many times, they knew what he meant. So this youngster who was very depressed, what is this? I took so much time, came here, and he wants me to go back where I came from. He didn't mean the physical place to go back. He means like the spiritual seed or bija, whatever you have. That spiritual heart sprung out this projection of thought, and then you identified yourself with this, and that's why you forgot who you really are. So ancients always talked about what is the real purpose of human birth is. We have that intelligence, everything. We mistakenly identify body, mind mechanism as ourselves, but that source which is animating the body and mind is really ourselves. Go there and then stay there, and then actually this moment to moment awareness I'm talking about is very possible when you are in that. That means you don't have the movement of thought, but you have the silent self. And once you are established in that, even if you try to sleep on that in the night after vacating your mind, I talked about, it's such a you know replenishing energy, and the sleep is so deep. So when you get up in the morning, you're completely fresh, like in the childhood. So all this junk that we accumulate in the mind, I've got to vacate it every day. I think.
Yeah, that's great explanation for where we started. That
Yeah.
I, to be in the present.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a wake up call for me when those things happen. Right? To
Yeah.
be able to deal with it, you have to come into the present. Right?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Actually, our life is in the present, but not in our head. But I think we kind of go dig up the memories and then go there, or project what may be in the future because of our desires or whatever we want. See, what Kay asked about was the nirvana is not a mind status. You see, that's most of the people try to attain. You have to transcend the mind to really be in that silence of mind, and then you can. That's what your yoga also says. Yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. And when all that thought and everything is still, tada drashta swarupe avasthan, then you can be real. Your real nature is seen. And then he says, if you don't see that, vritti sarupyam itaratra, then you will be led by the thought, whichever way it wants to go, and it will go. So your inner experience is either you end up in your real self, which is silent, eternal, always there, or you allow your thought to take you wherever it wants to take you. That's why people don't feel that easily. Once you see that, then you say, "Oh, this is so simple. Why did I make so complicated about it?" But modern life projects a lot of challenges for you because so much is thrown at you. It's getting worse and worse. So that's why be careful about that. Be conscious in your thinking and project the thought in a certain way, and then dump it. Krishnamurti said this beautiful. You see a beautiful tree on the meadow, and he was in England, I think. He was in a beautiful landscape or somewhere. He saw that one tree on the beautiful meadow. Very many really they did all the grass and all that, right? But then the tree looks beautiful, and he said, just experience the beauty of the moment, and then don't take it with you. The thought comes and say, oh, this was so good, I should compare this with something, or I should. That is where you have to experience the joys of life, but don't make a thought come in there where it takes and makes it a property. That is the problem. That's why he talked about emptying the mind all the time. So there was a movie made of him, J. Krishnamurti, with a silent mind. And he actually had a silent mind. Ramana had a silent mind. So there are many number of people who are practicing this inner yoga. They do experience the silent mind. They don't come out and tell you, "Oh, I have this." They don't do that because it's not something that you want to advertise, or you want to. They are no interest in that. All they is it's called Atmanandam. Atma means inner self. Ananda means joy, blissful existence. When they experience that, they don't have to tell you anything because they are revering in that. The moment you close your eyes, you go into that stillness of thought, silence, and tranquility, and that is very harmonizing. So being a human experience, that is our luck. So that's why they said doing that is our purpose of human life. But people can agree or not agree, but that was the case. See, we are supposed to talk about fully being present, and Dr. K is taking us to different directions. I don't mind, but if the more discussion is done as though you are examining this as a reality and you are not, and see what is your experience of being present. Have you ever tried to do that, or do you live in that? That kind of things I would like to explore with that topic. So I hope you all try to be in the present and think about it, and then really at the moment of present moment, you are not thinking, you are actually paying attention to whatever you are doing. Start with that, and then experiment at that and see what happens. And also do this, vacating the mind on a daily basis, so that you can come in the morning and say, my mirror of mind is clean. That is the greeting all the Advaitins, and they all say that, in the morning when they greet, साहब आपका दर्पण साफ hai, that is in Hindi. But sir, is your mirror clean? The mirror meaning the mind received all the impressions from the external world, and did you do anything to wipe it off? And then when you get in the morning, you wake up, you have that mirror completely cleaned. That's a good practice for modern age, I think. Even to think of that would help people. Otherwise, you sleep on thought, you wake up on thought, and you augment thought, you activate thought, and then it goes all over, then you complain. But then if I can use this thought intentionally, consciously, and then finish it off when I'm done with the task. And then if there is something remnant, like a brain fog and all this, I can do it. But then you're overwhelmed with so much of data and devices, you have no idea of reflection, no idea of meditation and all that. That's not a good thing. I think in the long run, more people are fidgety, anxiety, depression, just impulsive about their reactions, or not having good sleep and not able to repair their bodies and minds very well because of that. All these are problems of the modern culture evolution, and too much dependence on the thought and externals and intellect. But what about your inner awareness? What about intuition? I think we have to spend equal time on both of them. Then we will be balanced in that. Okay. My friend Nach is here. I'll say hello to him. Hi, Nach. Come up if you want to.
So, Dr. Rao, what do you do when we're sleeping? We're not conscious of it at all, right? I've been meaning to ask this question.
Well, the sleep has got actually there are three states, right? Awakening, awakened state, and then sleep with the dream first, and then deep sleep. So actually two states are considered, awakening and sleep. Awakening, when completely awake, that's one thing, daytime, right? And then with the dream, that is also considered awakening because the mind is still awakened, it's not going down. And the deep sleep is where you really feel like you kind of had a good sleep when you have a good deep sleep. So you got to understand how to look at this vacant mind to go to sleep completely. So you can practice that from the daytime being aware of whatever you are doing. And the more you are aware during the day, the more your time for the dream has to be curtailed. And then you are aware, then you will have less time you spending with the dreams, and then you have more time for the dreams, and also the depth and the quality of sleep also you can experience for yourself. I don't take any medications. I never took a sleeping medication in my life. Probably that's my blessing. Probably I never had to take it. Even when I had an operation and all that, I refused to take narcotics or sleeping medications, because there is a way to really calm your superficial waters of the mind and go rest in the deep layers of the sea of consciousness. But if you think your thinking is everything, your intellect is everything, then you will be always in the superficial layers of the consciousness. So the deeper you are, not by practice, but the deeper awareness have, you are, the better you sleep.
Thanks, Dr. Ram.
That's a talk I did a few days ago, Sanya, on sleep, only on sleep. Maybe you want to look it up if you can, in the replays you should be there. And we went a little bit deeper on that. But it's an important thing, because that is one thing, without spending any money, you can improve the depth of the sleep and repair your body and mind better. you know so it's at a molecular biology level, at really toxic cleaning of our systems. This is very important. Otherwise, you are going to generate a lot of stress hormones and the related products, by going against your natural circadian rhythms in your body. One of them is the sleep, and the reticular activity system needs this completely going down and resting, and then they will. There is a natural process that revives a lot of systems with a healing energy, and that's the vital energy. By the way, I did the vital energy also. That vital energy is impeded if you overthink, if you sleep less, if you drink alcohol or sleeping medication. All those things influence the reticular activating system, right? Or if you allow yourself to be worried and have this what's called circular thought, the same thoughts keep on coming, as they bother you. Past memories, past traumas, they become much more fortified if you are in the circular thought. All these things you can do by yourself. You don't need any external person telling you. He may not be doing it himself, but all anybody can do is point the way to this, and you got to walk. That is where walking can be better with somebody who have experienced those states, and then they don't have any vested interests, like in the here everything is monetization, right? That kind of thing is completely against this kind of thing. But if you can find somebody who is like that, and who can guide you without expecting anything in return from you, then you are found the right teacher, and then you can follow them. But still, light is shown on the path. You got to walk it. Go and see that sleep talk, Sanya. I think maybe one and a half hour, but I think you'll get more information there. But we can always talk in the wellness club. You're there, so you can on a daily basis you can maintain a record of the sleep and then what happened the previous day, and by knowing what to avoid to enhance your sleeping. Like for example, when I was actively being a physician and taking a lot of patients in the practice, and assumed a lot of roles as a leadership in the hospital, and also my directorship as the hospitalist. There are so many things going on. That is called Rajasic energy. When you have that kind of energy, you will do a lot, you will achieve a lot, you will go. But your thinking also goes like that. So you have to have a daily practice of where you are really doing things, not to let your mind go haywire. So for that, what it is emptying the mind on a daily basis. I used to do that. That helped me a lot. That was all because of the Krishnamurti. He talked about, I think the book is called Awakening the Intelligence. But I saw the talks with David Bowman and other people where he brings about this. He has a fundamental question. Are you awake, sir? He will ask that question. What does it mean by awake means? Suppose, Sanya, I know you for maybe so many years, for example, So when you come and see me, do I see you from the so many years of experience, or I don't have that burden, but I see you fresh here and now? If you are completely awakened to the present moment, you are not influenced by the past years of impressions. That's what we do with a relationship, right? We build up an image and then we want people to be true to them, but he might have changed, right? All those things. That's why they happen. So you are not really interested in the changed past or changing future or nothing. You are interested here and now. That means how much aware you have to be of the person. That is the real awakened state. He taught me that very, very early. He asked me that question: what does mean awake? Are you aware to this moment, or are you aware to your memories of the person? Image also. I will say, oh, Sanya is my friend, Sanya is my student. So all those are images, right? But then when I see you tomorrow morning, you are completely fresh and you don't have those maybe having different inclinations, different things. So I have to meet you for your freshness with a fresh mind.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Ben.
Nach, how are you?
I'm doing good, Doctor. How are you?
I am good, no problem. So what's going on?
Good.
Any questions? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I just want to listen what you're talking about. So it made it
Yeah.
really interesting to listen.
Yeah, it's almost 1.5 hours since I think 1 hour and 23 minutes, I think. So I was working on something on the Notion app. I made a course of the beginners how to understand how to organize their life. So the Notion gives you so many things that you could organize. But then I said, I always try to be simple. I want to reduce them as much as possible. So the app is beautiful, but then why do you have to do so many things just to earn a living or just to be that? You may not know your path at all, and that's why you are doing so many things. But then I want to indicate to the beginners how even they have doing multiple things, how they can condense into something very simple projects and all that. So I was doing a course on that, and that was very revelatory for me also. And I was working on that. So then I had a lot of fun creating that, and I'm going to work on it again tonight. But here I enjoyed the talk today. Anything else, Arya, or shall we close the room?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, you have tomorrow morning. When you see me, you can talk to me about that too. So no problem. Alka, any questions or anything, comments? Okay. Then I will see you again tomorrow evening. Okay. Um, Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank Ivy. Thanks, Anderson.